Today we're going to make a wire wrapped chocolate bouquet. We've chosen to use the Ferrero Rochers for this one here. You can swap them out for other chocolates, but I find these Ferreros are easy to wrap because they're circular, and also think you can get them pretty much anywhere in the world. I've decided to colour coordinate mine. I'm using the black and gold tissue and ribbon, and then I've got the black wire here as well. So we're using 16 gauge wire. And I've got a little box of Ferrero Rochers, so there's 16 chocolates in there. And I just start out by measuring out 16 20-inch lengths of the 16 gauge wire. I just go ahead and cut all of those lengths out. You can obviously colour coordinate your bouquet if you're doing a certain event or a gift for a person, their favourite colour. I've just chosen to stick with the Ferrero colours for this one here. For this design, we're going to start by wrapping each individual chocolate onto its own wire to create a stem, like if you were wrapping a flower bouquet. I actually remove all the little paper cups that are on the bottom as well. They're just stuck on with glue, so I just really gently pull them off without disturbing the chocolate. As you're working with chocolates, you really need to make sure that you are protecting the integrity of the seal, making sure they're going to still be nice and fresh, especially if they are for a gift. They need to be in perfect condition as well. I don't like the technique I've seen used before when people are making bouquets or things with food. They just kind of poke a stick inside the piece of food. Something about that just doesn't really seem right to me, so I wanted to come up with something that's going to keep the chocolate's integrity and keep it nice and fresh. Once all the paper cups are removed, we can start to wrap our chocolates. With our pliers on one end of the wire, we're just going to start by making a little spiral, just bending it around with our pliers, forming it into a spiral shape. We're going to form the spiral to be about as big as the diameter of the Ferrero chocolate. You can see it's about as round as the chocolate is. Then I just gently push up the middle part to start to form it into a circular shape, or more like a 3D shape, so it's got some depth to it. When you've got that, you can just hold it onto the chocolate and gently start to wrap the wire around the bottom half of the ball shape. As I'm bringing it around, I'm making it smaller and smaller until it goes right down to the center, and then we can just bring the wire out straight. You want your chocolate to be held in there quite securely. I like having the Ferrero sticker at the top as well. I just think it helps to keep them all looking the same. Now it's on to the next one. Again with your pliers, starting to form one end into the spiral, bringing it around itself to make the size of the chocolate. Pushing that little centerpiece upwards so that it's going to form nicely around our little round chocolate. And then just bringing it around the base of the chocolate as well and making it sort of smaller as you go. We want the wire to hold your little chocolates firmly in place so that they're not going to fall out. And you want them to be sort of securely on the top of the stem. To show you one more here, wrapping that spiral around. Just enough to fit that top half of the Ferrero in, and then holding the chocolate in there and bringing it around the bottom half as you wrap it around. Wrapping it around smaller and smaller to hold that chocolate in place, and then bringing the wire off straight You can work with your wires as well if you find that they're not quite working or holding that chocolate in place. You can sort of change them a little bit. So this one here, I'm just going to bring that wire down and pull it a little bit tighter around the base. I've just gone ahead and done the same thing with all 16 of our chocolates. And then we're going to start wrapping our little stems individually in the tissue paper. So we do need some tape and scissors. I'm doing my first layer with the black tissue paper. I've cut the tissue paper into 8 pieces. And so this is just one of those pieces. So I just start with my little rectangle there. I just fold a piece over. So we've got a few more sort of points coming up. And we just start by wrapping it around one stem. We want to wrap it down far enough that you can still easily see the chocolate coming out the top. They can kind of easily disappear into the tissue paper if you wrap them down too far. So we want to just wrap it around in a way that you can still see the chocolate coming out there. And we just wrap it around and then pulling it nice and tight at the bottom there. And then we're just going to secure it onto the stem with some tape. So we just pop that aside and we're going to do the same for all 16 of our stems. On to the next one. So just with our little piece of tissue paper there, folding one of the bottom corners upwards to give us a few extra points up there. Then just gently wrap the tissue paper around to frame the chocolate. And securing it nice and tight with the tape onto the wire. We just do the same with all 16 of our stems, and then we're going to move on to our gold colour. I cut this one into 8ths as well, so about the same size as the black pieces, but we're not going to fold these ones. With these gold pieces, I like to hold the stem in the centre of the piece of tissue paper and sort of roll each side inwards around and just sort of tidying up the tissue paper as you go. Then you can secure it on with your tape at the bottom as well. Into the centre of the tissue paper with your next stem, bringing it right around to frame the first colour, so it gives a nice contrast between the light and the dark. And then securing it with tape at the bottom as well. Then we can do the same with all 16 stems. Now that we've wrapped all 16 of our Ferreros, I just start by bringing them together to start to form the bouquet. I start with 5 in the centre there and bring them together quite tightly, have them sitting nicely, and then just turn them upside down, and we want to tape around to get them nice and secure together. Because they are on wires, they can get a little bit like a spring sort of effect going on. You just want to make sure that they're taped sort of up quite high so that they're going to stick together and not kind of be springing all over the place. Once you've taped those 5 in there, you can bring more stems into the bouquet and tape them as well. Bringing them around the outside and just starting to form that nice round sort of bouquet. You'll start to see where there's a spot that needs one to make it even. So I've added about 5 more chocolates, and then I'm just going to secure them on as well onto the original 5. Then we can pop the last 5 on as well and secure them on too. You can see the spots around the outside that sort of need one. So you can place them in there just to make it sort of look nice and even, like a bunch of flowers would be. Just place them on until you've used all of them, securing that lot underneath as well. And this is the top layer of them, so make sure you've really secured them in place. Might need a couple of pieces of tape. You really want to make sure they're nice and secure and they're not going to be moving or doing the springy thing. I'm trying to keep that tape up quite high on the wires as well. We're going to wrap it in tissue as well. But before I do that, I like to grab my pliers here and just actually snip off a lot of those tails there. You can see how some of them are a lot longer. They're actually going to poke through your tissue and might poke someone too. So I just snip a bunch of them off till they're a bit more manageable and a bit more even. You still want some length on the bottom that you can hold onto it like a bouquet, but you just don't want them too long and kind of unruly. Once you've cut them all down short, I just wrap them as well in some tape, just makes them nice and secure all together. And just making sure they're not sharp on the end there. Then we can start to wrap it in the tissue, and that's going to pull the bouquet together really nicely. I've got the gold and a black layer of some tissue, just what was left over. I like to fold it over at the bottom there to just cover those wires that you wrapped, and then just start wrapping it around from there. Bringing it around in a way that's sort of going to frame the bouquet. You want it to be held together at the bottom, and I've also got some cellophane, so I'm going to wrap that around the base to help hold it all together and finish it off. We just did a similar thing here. We just folded the bottom layer over the wires at the base and then just wrapped it around slowly to protect the bouquet. Then I've got 40 inches of each of the black and gold ribbons. At this point, it might be good to have someone sort of hold it for you. I didn't have anyone around to do that, so you want to have your ribbons tied on there really nice and tight. You want to tie them up as high as you can so that they hold your bouquet around. I put 2 knots onto the ribbon and then just a nice little bow on there as well. But the higher up you can get your ribbon on there, the better. Now you can tweak your little chocolate stems a bit. You can push some of the tissue out of the way and expose some more of the chocolates and just kind of mold them into place and get it looking perfect. There's your beautiful wire wrapped chocolate bouquet.